That's true self-love, honoring yourself in the way you were created to show up and embody your vessel. Because when you show up and move from that place, you're coming from gratitude and fun, and I get to because I can, and I have a choice, and this feels good. And what happens when you feel good is you want to keep doing it. So really what we're seeking is this happiness, but it comes in the form of acceptance, confidence, freedom, right? Because we're chasing a pant size or an ethereal finish line, but what is it you actually seek? I challenge the listeners to know the feeling instead at the point of, arrival. And that could be a state of being, a place, a feeling, rather than a pant size, a weight, a six pack, or some external measure of quote unquote success.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit. In the hot seat today, we have got Keri Ford, who is a holistic health coach. She's all things wellness and confidence. And you know that our audience is all about building confidence so that you can take action. And this lady right here is going to give us all the tools that we need to make that happen. So Keri, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rebecca. What a powerful introduction. I love your energy.
I love it too. And Keri and I had the pleasure to meet in person, which is always really great when I've actually felt somebody's energy in person at a mastermind that I was speaking at in Austin, Texas. And Keri was there and I saw her. I'm like, we need to connect. She was asking me loads of questions. I'm like, I like this girl. Like, we're going to have a great conversation. So you know that I'm always out. I feel like I'm out scouting for people to bring to my audience. Like, that's how I feel. So I've scouted Keri to be here today. So we're going to get started straight away. Dive in. We're going to hear a little bit about Keri's story. She has struggled with an eating disorder in the past, so we're going to touch on that. We're going to talk about how to teach your kids to listen to their body, love-based motivation, and a couple of things to help you guys gain your confidence back and just step into the person that you know that deep down that you are truly meant to be. So, Keri, first of all, just intro yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. We can't wait to hear it all.
Yeah, so my name's Keri Ford. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a single mom of two. Went through a divorce a couple years ago, and I'm the CEO and founder of Elevate with Keri, which is an elite transformational coaching platform. So we work with women one-to-one and in a group capacity, basically to tap into their intuition, but we do that through body and food and the relationship that they have around that. But you know, Rebecca, because you're in personal development as well, how we do anything is how we do everything, and those patterns show up in every area of our life. This just happens to be our personal wheelhouse.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. So how did you get here? You know, you'd say that you're a single mom. What's happened? What's the transition that's happened? And how did you start off in your childhood? What other jobs have you had before you got to this place right here? Tell us your story. We want to hear the gritty part. We want to hear the story of where you were and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I've had some really funny jobs, like, teenage Keri worked at like Blockbuster and like ice cream smoothie shops and waitress, because I love people. I just love service. So I've always gravitated towards like where there's people, where I can like connect with them. But it's funny because I went to school for actually advertising and marketing, very competitive program. And when I moved to New York and became an art director working on like Coca-Cola and Belvedere vodka accounts, it was like, this isn't what I'm supposed to do. But meanwhile, I had been going through my own personal recovery of an eating disorder, and I found the book Intuitive Eating, but it didn't make sense to me, right? So I was kind of putting these pieces together. I was like, I'm called to do something. It feels like it's in the health and wellness space, maybe being a personal trainer. And I am exploring my relationship with food because I had anorexia in college. I just stopped eating. It was like 50 to 100 calories a day, lots and lots of exercise. And I was just in a really kind of lost place in my life. So I quit that job in New York City. I moved to Los Angeles, Hollywood, where I started working at a protein smoothie shop. And my parents were like, I'm sorry, what? You have a college degree. You have a $125,000 freaking degree, and you're going to go work at a smoothie place in Hollywood, California. Like, what are you doing? But man, God is so good. And I met a celebrity trainer. Her name's Ashley Conrad, who is one of my friends. She's amazing. And she was like, hey, do you like you want to try something else? Because I really like your energy. I feel like you would work really well at this gym that I work at. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go to this gym. You don't even know it's a gym. There's no sign. There's an alleyway behind, I shouldn't even tell the secret, but it's on McFadden and Hollywood. It's above the Starbucks there. You go behind the alleyway and there's like a sign on the gate. But you have to have a personal trainer or take spin class to even go inside. So I start managing the front desk as I'm getting my personal training certs, my certified, nutritionist certs, and at the time, I had been Johnny G Mad Dog certified. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Rebecca, but old school spin, like before Flywheel, before Soul Cycle. This is like 12 years ago, quite a while. So I start managing the front desk at this gym, teaching spin classes, shadowing literally like the best trainers in the country. And I was like, yeah, this feels really good. Like this is what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to tap into like their capabilities. So I did that for a stretch, worked with some celebrities, which was super cool. But I also still was searching for something else, because here's why. It was about what's happening the 23 other hours of the day. Like oftentimes I would hear people say, I just need someone to like wake me up and get me out of bed, or like knock the fork out of my hand. Like I can't seem to get this under control. And so they'd schedule their training sessions and they'd show up and be accountable, but until they weren't, right? Because then that package is done or those spin classes are done and then they go back to what they were doing. So through my own personal development, I got really curious, like, why do people go back to habits and patterns and behaviors? Like, what is self-sabotage really? And through my own awakening and breakdown and breakthrough and personal journey with divorce and eating disorder recovery, I was like, oh, like we go back to what's familiar, because what's familiar is familial. And so even if it's in misalignment or in opposition to where we truly want to be or how we actually envision our best self showing up, there is still a part of us that maybe doesn't think it's true, or that's scared of what that looks like because we don't know how. Maybe we didn't learn it, right? And that's where I get to like teach my kids a new way, a different way of being. So I mean, that's sort of the things in a nutshell. There's a lot of course, pieces and components that kind of came together throughout the years, but yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
That's amazing. And you just put yourself into situations and you said yes. And I think that's one of the biggest
Totally.
things is like someone asks you, do you want to try this out? Just say yes and figure it out later, because you never know where that yes can lead you. Let's touch a little bit about the eating disorder that you had. What age were you? Why did this happen? What was the reason, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I'd always been active as a child. I had lifestyle fitness, right? So I would live at the dance studio. I was a ballet dancer. I did like jazz and I did point ballet. So being active was nothing new to me. Team sports, don't put me in a soccer game. I'll probably score a goal for the wrong team. But I this was part of my lifestyle. But then you get to a certain age and you're like, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to be a professional ballerina? Am I like going to go to the Olympics and be the next Shawn Johnson? Like, what does this actually look like? And so at that age, you're like, well, let me just give this up, because I'm already at the top level. So unless I'm competing, and I'm kind of too old at this point to really have longevity in that career, 15, 16 years old. So I just stopped working out, right? And that was all I knew. I dabbled in track and field, which was a whole other interesting thing, because I'm not a runner. I don't enjoy running. It was just like, I don't know what else to do. I don't have to try out for this. So I will just join the track team. Fast forward to college. And honestly, the combination of hopping on birth control, late night partying, stress, a schedule that was extremely demanding. I was up late. I was just not taking care of my body, but I didn't really have to worry about it before, right? I had never learned how to be conscious of it. Like, what am I putting in my body? It just was part of my life. So I just had a whole like shift there. But in that, I went from a 00, I'm 5 feet tall. I went from a 00, like, I don't know, 98-pound little athletic gymnast body to like a size 8. And it was a lot. Like, I had a whole new wardrobe. I didn't know this body. I didn't know how to navigate it. And I was freaking out, to be quite honest, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how to get this weight off. And at the same time, my dad had an angioplasty, which is where they place a little spring. It's with a stent They place a spring-based mechanism into an artery or vein where there's a blockage. It opens it up to expand and move it through. So he had an 80% blockage in his left descending artery. And I thought, you know what? If I'm dealing with weight issues now, I don't want to wait to have that, because that wasn't even indicated until he took a stress test. And that was when I really, my perfectionist performance type A started to come out. So I was like, that's it. I'm gonna be committed. But I took it to the extreme. It was diet pills, it was exercising, it was eating less than 200 calories a day. And it turned into this like self-punishment cycle. So I think the eating disorder was inevitable because of the way that I had been programmed growing up, like in performance base, in wearing masks, in if this looks good, then it will feel good. But the opposite actually felt true. And so that was a really dark time. And I actually shared a story at the mastermind, and I posted this recently on Instagram. It wasn't even supposed to be shared. It was just shared within our inner circle. And we thought, we need to share this message. But I remember looking in the mirror, being a 00. My skirt was too big, which I enjoyed at the time in this like really sick way. It was like, oh, it's working, and I'm hating myself into being skinny. But I hated myself. Like I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I'm fat, I'm ugly, because that was where my motivation came from. I was trying to like hate myself into keeping this fear-based motivation, because I really was so scared of who I was without the rules, without these parameters I set on myself. And it was like, if I let go of control, then I will be out of control. And that scared me more than anything. So I didn't care what the price was that I was paying for this external body. But it was such a dark time, and it felt terrible. And I just thought, no one should ever feel like this. I don't really care what size you are. And so that became my why. That became my mission, to liberate women from the reflection they see in the mirror, to see something different.
And how long did you suffer with the eating disorder for, and how did you step out of that? Was there a moment that you remember, or how did you start to living a healthier lifestyle?
Oh, it was a back and forth journey, honestly. And I found the book Intuitive Eating by accident. It was actually a book I bought to try to continue to brainwash myself into this like hate talk. And I started reading it, and it ended up being a disordered eating recovery book, essentially, on how to listen to yourself and like give yourself permission to eat. And I was like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. This is the opposite of what I have been doing. And like, hold on a minute. So there was a little back and forth there as I explored that on my own. There was some therapy. Over the years, I've hired coaches. I still work with a somatic healer, which is the somatic experiencing, where you learn to speak with and dialogue with the energies in your body. And I've since created a modality I call body speak, where I teach women to do the same. It's sort of a blend of things I've learned. But I got to the point where I had a miscarriage, and after competing in fitness competitions, and my progesterone was low. And it was because I literally had, quite honestly, fucked up my body. Like I was just willing to do whatever it took. And I thought, oh, this is actually the price I'm paying now. And that's too great a cost. And I got to the point where I'm like, if being fat is what it looks like to be happy, then I'm actually okay with that now. And I got to the point where I was just like, I'm done with this. Like, but of course, there's still things that come up. And I don't know that you're ever truly free from the eating disorder. Sometimes those talk tracks want to pop up. Sometimes restriction wants to rear its ugly head. But I know myself, and I know that filter now. And it feels better to trust me and my body versus hate talk and choose fear. So knowing myself in that place is really what gave me the empowerment to continue to make new choices there. So it was a back and forth, but yeah.
And that's an important message that you said. It's more important to be happy than it is to be skinny. So how old are you? I can't remember what we said. How old? You're 36, right? So I'm a couple of years younger than you, but it was the same size 0 thing that was going on. So I was a ballet dancer too. I was ballet, tap, point, all the things. And then when I got to like 16 years old, I was like, I wasn't going to be professional. And I kind of stopped down the dancing, but I got bullied at school as well. And that's when I got my eating disorder, was because it was the one thing that I could control. And I used to remember having to go to the doctors every week, and they would weigh me and they'd be like, oh, you've lost another pound. And inside of my head, I'd be like, fuck yeah, right? It's like, but I wasn't happy. My hair was falling out. My skin was awful. And it was like, I wanted to, I think it was a control thing. Like I didn't have control of everything else, but I had control of what I could put into my body. And I remember going on a family vacation to Portugal, and my poor parents, worrying them like crazy of just eating like 2 bits of cucumber and some seeds. And like, I would live off seeds. And I think that, I realized that I didn't have energy. I wasn't any good at sports anymore because I didn't have the fuel to help me. And I wasn't even happy being really skinny. So it's an interesting thing that your body doesn't define your happiness, right? It just defines your health. And that's what we want to strive for, is just to be healthy mentally and physically. So thank you so much for sharing that story. That's so important. And, there's a lot of people that come through my program that have been in that situation or could still be there right now. So, we're here to help you. And I love that. So what's the book called again? What did you say it was called? Intuitive Eating. Okay, we'll link that as well. All right, so let's talk about your kids and how to teach them to listen to their body, because both you and I'm sure that I grew up with amazing parents, so did you. So it's like, but they didn't know. And I think back then it was different. We had the Olsen twins, the craze size 0 was really in right then. Like that's what you wanted to look like. Now it's like fit and healthy. Like I never remember an image on a magazine of somebody being muscular as being like in. It was like these I used to watch the fashion catwalk show, and they were mini, like tiny. So that's what we were, programmed to be like, this is what's attractive and this is what's healthy. So how can we teach our kids a better way to be?
Yeah, I think that's great you bring that up. I remember seeing my first Oxygen magazine. Do you remember Oxygen?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, her body looks like mine. Like, oh, it's like, this feels good to see someone that looks like me. And for the first time as this 5-foot kind of muscular, curvy chick, I was like, oh, I actually feel permission here, because I'm not going to be the runway model. Yeah, right? Like 5 feet tall. You're just not.
Yeah, I'm 5'2.5", so I haven't got much on you.
Right, we're itty bitty, like, yeah, fun size. So it gave me permission to explore my body in a different way. But I love teaching my kids to do the same. And, the other thing too is I find often that clients edit themselves because they've been edited somewhere else. Like they learned, another way to say this is, it wasn't okay to be who you are, how you're doing it, the way you're wanting to show up. So really what we're seeking is this happiness, but it comes in the form of acceptance, confidence, freedom, right? Because we're chasing a pant size or an ethereal finish line, but what is it you actually seek? I challenge the listeners to know the feeling instead at the point of, arrival. And that could be a state of being, a place, a feeling, rather than a pant size, a weight, a 6-pack, or some external measure of quote unquote success, something we've learned. Where did you learn that? So, going back to this editing point, I really try, and it's hard because I'm parenting my own inner child as I actually parent my real children, right? But learning a new way to be conscious, to give them permission to have their experience, whatever way that looks like. So for example, I start with allowing them to connect to their heart center and asking them a question after school: how does your heart feel today? And usually their first response is, oh yeah, no, I'm good, I'm fine. And I'll ask them a few seconds later, okay, how does it feel now? And they're like, oh, I feel a little sad because I miss daddy, right? Because they're in 2 different households, but their dad's amazing. We live 2 miles from each other. And I'm like, that's understandable. I validate their experience. I understand that's normal to feel sad. I imagine that's really hard to feel that way. And thank you for sharing that with me. So I create validation for their experience. I create safety by just illuminating the fact that they shared it. And I let them know they're right in whatever they're feeling in that moment. And I go a little bit deeper, right? I'm not going to just accept the first knee-jerk answer. So that's one way that they can connect to their body, their feelings, and where they are in the present moment. Now, how that shows up with food is I'll ask them, what does your body say? And it's funny because they're they're 5 and 6. So sometimes like my body says I need to eat the whole thing of ice cream. And it's like, oh, does it? Or my body says I need to watch this whole movie and stay up really late. Okay, interesting.
That's smart.
Oh, they're very smart. So we'll ask a few times, okay, where is your body saying that? What part of your body are you connected to? And we'll drop in that way. So that's a second way that I try not to edit them and just kind of go with wherever their body is going, right? Are you hungry? Are you full? Normal cues around that, which again sounds like common sense, but how many of you in this moment, if I were to ask you, have you ever had to go to the bathroom and an hour later you're like, oh my God, I forgot to go to the bathroom? On some level, you're neglecting yourself. So, are you really listening to your body? And I give them validation there. And then the last way that I would do that is at night, we'll talk about affirmations. So I will tell them, okay, let's just go through a couple affirmations that you're feeling tonight. And I'll be like, do you want to repeat after me? And they'll say, yeah, or they'll interject their own. But it's, I am loved. I am worthy because I exist. I am powerful. I am creative, right? And I'll kind of speak to whatever their zone of genius is. Each of them is different. Um, and sometimes they're like, I don't want to do this. It's boring. I'm like, okay, we don't have to do it, right? And other times they have their own that they want to add in. So you just say a couple of them. Again, it's a really empowering thing to say, I am. It's very grounding in the present moment. And it allows them to feel more in control of who they are and how they get to be.
Wow, you had me in tears at the first part that you were talking about. Like, how do you feel today? How does your heart feel? Like, that's amazing. And I really believe that we are stepping into a new generation of how to work with, our children and personal development, and bringing it to children at a young age, doing those affirmations, I think is amazing. Oh God, that's so sweet. I was literally like bawling right here. Talk to me a little bit about love-based motivation.
Yeah, well, I was very familiar with fear-based motivation, right? Who am I without rules? If I let go of control, therefore I will be out of control. Those were beliefs and stories that I had created. And so what did I do? I tried to brainwash and affirm to myself, like, no, you're fat, because then my motivation would be then to hate talk myself into being skinny and doing hours of cardio and things I didn't like. So I've had a client, I'll give you a tangible example. She was like, should I buy a Peloton or a treadmill? And I was like, well, my experience of you is you don't really like running. Is this true? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, then fuck the treadmill. Why are we talking about a treadmill? Like, do the thing that you want to do, because that gets to be your play. And from that place, you want to move and then it feels good. That's true self-love, honoring yourself in the way you were created to show up and embody your vessel. Because when you show up and move from that place, you're coming from gratitude and fun, and I get to because I can, and I have a choice, and this feels good. And what happens when you feel good is you want to keep doing it. And so there's this wheel I've created on my Instagram, you'll see it, but from the place of I get to, and I'm grateful to, and I want to, you continue to make these choices. And so therefore you start to create consistency, right? That's the thing you repetitively do over and over again, automated healthy patterns and behaviors. And from consistency, we create sustainability. It's the thing that you can do forever, because diets work until they don't. And really crazy marathon training and fearful based goals that maybe aren't even the thing you actually want to do, but you're trying to hold yourself accountable to, they're not sustainable, because then what do? You seek the next diet plan that's hardcore. You seek the next marathon, even if you don't even like running. I did it in the form of fitness competitions. It was like, I just need to have the big scary goal on the calendar, or otherwise I'm going to like be out of control. So sustainability is the second part of that. So the thing you can keep doing. And when you keep doing that thing and you create a lifestyle that you can actually successfully do and implement ongoing, then you create momentum. And momentum just sort of pushes itself right around that circle back into consistency. That is motivation. And my friend Jeff Goins, New York Times bestselling author, he puts it in a way that says it's the book you can't not write. It's the thing you can't not do, because it just becomes part of who you are and how you be. So then round and round you go, and suddenly you're just feeling good and making healthy choices and honoring yourself. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then what happens weight loss is the inevitable byproduct, but you're not even focused on that anymore.
Mm-hmm. And people often ask me, what's the best workout to do? I'm like, what do you love to do? Go
The
do
one to
that.
do.
Whether it's rock climbing, whether it's hiking, whether it's a bunch of ab workouts, whether it's weights, like there is no best thing. I don't believe. It's like, what do you love doing? And that's what's going to be best for you. Find your jam, and you're more likely to keep on doing it, because there's no way that you're going to get me swimming every day. There's just no way. I'm a terrible swimmer. Like, I feel like I'm drowning. I don't have the lung capacity for it. And like, it's just, but one time I was like, I'm going to do a triathlon. So I would get up early. I would go to the gym that had a pool, but it just wasn't sustainable because I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't excited.
And so you probably hear this all the time too, but it's like, I just need to be accountable. Like there's nothing, I can't seem to stick to something. I'm not motivated. How do you stay motivated? And it's like, that's the secret.
Mm-hmm.
Self-love is not bubble baths and hot tea and face masks, although those are beautiful things for self-care. It's really tapping into and giving yourself permission to be who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What gets you fired up? What turns you on? What gets you excited? I
Yeah.
love it. All of those things. And you work with a lot of women in one-on-one sessions and group sessions.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the number one, I don't like to say struggle, but the one other thing that women get to overcome to help them get to where they want to be? Like, what's the main thing of bridging that gap? A lot of people are like, right, I'm here right now, and this is where I want to go, but there's something stopping me. What have you found, or a couple of things that you're finding, so that my audience and your audience can be like, me too? Because every single time I do like a Zoom call and I ask a question, hey, who feels like this? Everybody puts their own, and they're like, hang on a second, you feel like this too? Like, I thought I was the only special, unique one that felt like this. And so when we realize that we're all going through the same thing, it makes us realize that, oh, it's not such a big deal what I'm going through. So what do you think the number one things are that most women struggle with to getting where they want to be?
They think it's time, lack of time, but it's actually self-trust. I don't have enough time. I have all these things going on. I'm so busy. And I'm like, who's in charge of your day? Who's the CEO of your life? Because a lot of the women I work with, don't forget, are super performers, overachievers, entrepreneurs in a life purpose, in a purpose-driven life calling, right? So this shows up in a lot of those. I don't worry about motivation with them. But what I do worry about is the saying yes when they mean no, not showing up for themselves, and knowing that they are right in whatever moment that looks like, right? So they're so attached to this rigidity down to the morning routine even. Oh, well, every day I'm supposed to get up at 5. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what about today in this moment where you wake up and meet yourself? What does that look like? Maybe today it looks like sleeping in, permission. So yeah, I mean, if you're saying it's lack of time, it's really a lack of self-trust. Because if you trusted yourself, and a woman that does trust herself says no when she means no, knows herself on such a deep level that she is unshakable no matter what's going on in her reality.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
and when you know yourself to that depth, you also show up in relationship differently. The way that you eat, what you accept in your reality, the way you schedule your day, the way you do things, the way you be, it's wildly different.
It's interesting because I've heard that a lot. Like, I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to stick to this plan. I don't have enough time to start this side hustle. I don't have enough time to do this. And it's like, you're just not trusting that if you do it, you're going to get the results. And I think that's the easiest way and an excuse to, instead of just saying, because everyone's scared of failure. Everyone's scared of starting something and fail. But remember, you can't fail unless you quit at something. And it's always learning. And we get to a level and we're like, we got to learn more and we're going to expand in ourselves. So I think that's such an important aspect that you just touched upon. When someone says, I don't have enough time, what does that actually mean? Because does it mean that you don't trust yourself enough to do this action?
Yeah. Because if you trusted yourself, how would you choose in this moment? Whatever that is, whatever that choice is. If I trusted myself, how would I do this? How would I choose the next step if there is one?
Yeah.
There is one, and that's okay too.
That's so epic. I love it. Wow, you've brought so much value. I'm so excited for everybody to listen to this. What is coming up for you in 2021? What are you doing?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so excited. We just launched the collective, and the collective is an ongoing community of women that are coming together that are just feeling like they are called to do big things. So whether you're a wellness professional looking to take your clients deeper by an experience that you've done yourself so you can teach them how I coach, or you're looking to heal your own relationship with food and body, this community is for you. And we're currently enrolling for that. They get live coaching from me weekly, just like this on Zoom. And they get to have access to an amazing container of women. That's a really sacred and safe place to share and be like, yeah, me too. Like, I'm not alone in this. Because it does get lonely at the top of, when you're, like we were talking about before we started recording, when you are a super performer and you seek big things, there's a call on your heart and a message you're supposed to share. This is that place that you can be right. And I just love doing that. So yeah, we're offering that now, which is exciting.
I'm so excited for that. So where can everybody find you on all the platforms, all the things? Tell everybody.
Yes. I am at Elevate with Keri, Keri, on Instagram. I'm on Clubhouse at Keri Ford. You can find me in Billion Dollar Body with Keri Ford on Facebook in my free group, or you can hop on to elevatewithkeri.com and check out my website there as well.
Amazing. Well, we'll put all of the links in the description below. So make sure that you guys go and give Keri a follow. She's amazing. Her energy is just beautiful. Like, you just have such a great presence about you. And that's why I wanted to share you with all of my audience as well. So thank you so much for being on the show. Guys, make sure that you follow Keri. Go give us some love, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.